Welcome, everyone. My name's Dee, and this is a Vinyasa flow class. It's going to be a gentle one. I try to flip-flop every other week. My little mini dachshund Stretch, it looks like, wants to join us today, which is fine. Go ahead and find a comfortable seat. Your legs can be in any position. It really doesn't matter. I've got a little bit of a height increase by sitting on a folded up blanket. You can use that or a towel. And rest your hands in a comfortable position. Oh my goodness, this is the first time he's done this. And let your spine just naturally begin to lengthen. Just give some awareness to that area. See if you can relax your shoulders. At the same time, you're really trying to lengthen the spine between the tailbone and the brain stem. You're holding your core, tightening the muscles there all the way around 360 degrees, right? And we'll have a little bit of a core workout from our table position today. We are going to get into the core in several different ways, and then we'll do some stretching through some really gentle flows. If you haven't already, close your eyes and just let your awareness come inside. Start to pay attention to your breath here. And see if you can tap into the rest of your body for a moment. Perhaps looking for signs, areas where it's sore from activity yesterday or the day before. Sometimes it takes a couple days to get really sore for that effect to hit me anyway. And it is that time of year with the days getting longer that we might be doing more physical work in our yards, perhaps. Begin to lengthen your breath even more. And today we'll practice the pranayama box breathing. If we think of our breath as having four sides, let the inhale be side one. We want to pause breathing out or even in anymore, I guess, for one side. Exhale for the third side and pause before inhaling for the last side. Keep rotating through that pattern. And if your mind wanders, bring it back. A pattern of breathing is a great way to come into the present moment to keep your mind from wandering. This type of pranayama can be great to do before meetings, before teaching a class, perhaps. Bringing the mind into a form of concentration, letting calm sensations flood the body here. Go ahead and set your box breathing aside. And let's all change position of our legs. If your knees were bent, let's straighten them out a little bit. He's got a bed right off camera. If your knees were straight, go ahead and bend them. And let's start to wiggle the toes. See if you can find a position where wiggling your toes is a little easier. We can start to point and flex. Now, our challenge is going to be leaving your legs in whatever position helps you sit up nice and straight and be comfortable. We're going to challenge ourselves to inhale, lifting the arms up overhead. Let's interlace our fingers. And from here, let's work on the 7 movements of the spine. So the first one is elongation. Let's stretch the fingers, the backs of the fingers rather, up towards the ceiling. Feel that tightening through the arms, maybe even into the armpits and the side body. And then exhale, release your hands. Just let your wrists maybe roll a few times on the way down. And then we've completed one movement of the spine. Let's go ahead and add 2 more, 3 more times. So we'll inhale the arms up, interlacing the fingers. Let's do the lateral stretch here, exhaling to one side, doesn't matter which one, inhaling to come back up. Exhale, release laterally to the other side. Inhale to come back up, and exhale releases the arms. And you can roll your wrists or wiggle your fingers, whichever feels better, on the way down. All right, let's move into our interlaced fingers and then come into a twist right and left. So we'll inhale, arms up, hands up, reaching, good. Interlace fingers, exhale, turn to one side. Inhale, come back to center with your chest forward, nose forward. Exhale to the opposite side. Inhale, come back to center. Exhale, let's stretch the arms, roll the wrists or wiggle the fingers, whatever feels good there. Awesome. All right, one more movement, a set of movements rather. Let's come into a seated cat-cow. This we won't do with interlaced fingers. We'll inhale both arms out wide like wings. If you want to change up the position of your legs, feel free. Let's exhale, bring the hands together right in front of the body. Start to tuck the chin and round the spine. Inhale. Begin to move the hands apart. Start to sit up nice and tall. Get the spine to come to neutral and then to arch as you gently lift the chin. Exhale to release into cat. Inhale. Expanding, lifting into cow. And let's do this back and forth a few times at your own pace. Releasing as you're ready, even if it's before the cue comes to release. So let your body guide your practice just as much as you take suggestions from me. Let's move into tables so we can do some core work. Placing that towel or rolled up blanket under the knees is helpful here. Oh my goodness, he's a little clingy today. So at table, oh good. To sort of get your foundation in the right spot so that your wrists are comfortable, your knees are comfortable. If table doesn't work for you, you can stay seated. There'll be parts of these movements you can do from a seated position. So we want to work on our core. We're going to step our right foot back into extended cat. We can stay right here. We can also lift this foot up as we inhale, exhale to lower. Inhale to lift, any amount, doesn't matter. Exhale to lower. If you're inhaling to lift, don't go higher than your hip. Exhale to lower. Here we can stay with our hands in right underneath our shoulders, or we can stretch the opposite hand forward. Left arm and fingers reach up ahead. So lengthen that arm using that reach capability. You can stay here, tethered to the floor. You can hover with the lifting the arm and leg, the hand and foot. And you can come to shoulder and hip height. Gaze stays at the floor. Working on that strengthening of the core. Rotate your wrists to point your palm toward the midline. And release as you're ready. You can sink back into child's pose or come into a low kneel. Taking a few breaths here in between before coming back to our table, setting back up that foundation. This time stepping the left foot back, extending our cat. Inhale to lift any amount. Exhale to lower. Moving at your own pace. Maybe taking breaks in between, breaths of breaks. Working your body at your pace with wherever you are. If you'd like, extend the right hand forward. Move from extended cat into that sunbird. Working on the balance here. You don't have to lift fingers and toes to work on balance, even if you just pull slightly to have these digits lightly touching the floor. Your core is going to kick in to keep you balanced here. So if you'd like, you can inhale to lift, exhale to lower. You can stay lifted, making this yoga class your own. Coming back in with that hand and knee, and then coming back into child's pose or low kneel. Maybe working the wrists a little bit, wiggling the fingers. Okay. Let's come back to our table. More core work here. We're going to lift one knee at a time, and we're going to hover that knee just above our mats or just above the blanket or towel if we're cushioned. Inhale to lift, and inhale to lift. Let's lift the left knee together, and we'll hover that knee. So now picture your left hip's just slightly higher than your right hip. This is kind of directing your body intuitively to press more into that right knee, maybe the top of the right foot, pressing equally into both hands. And we're working our core just by keeping this knee lifted. Go ahead and release that knee. Feel your spine react, your shoulders, your hips, as things straighten out side to side. Now let's switch opposite. Press into the left knee to hover that right knee. We're picking up the right foot off the mat, and we're just holding steady here as we breathe regularly. Hopefully in through the nose and out through the nose. Unless you're slightly congested like I am today. All right, let's switch back to the other side. Left knee hovers on the next inhale. We'll lift that left knee up. We can feel the pressure increase on the right side of the body as it responds on our stand and becomes our standing side here. Now let's lift that left knee out and up. And we can do that very slowly, 2 to 3 times. And then shift onto the left knee again. Let those sides come even with each other. And the next inhale lifts the right knee. It hovers. If you want, you can lift that knee and foot up to hip height and then lower, lift and lower. And if you'd like, lift and lower one final time. Let's shift now to the opposite side, lifting that left knee again. This time the foot comes up behind us and the knee becomes hip height, and we'll flatten the lifted leg foot, the whole sole of the foot, and then we'll do these little pumps here. So it's a very small movement, maybe just a few inches, lifting the knee, or imagining that you're lifting through the heel. Release that leg, and we'll shift to the opposite side, hovering. From here, lift that right foot. Bring that knee up, even with the hip. press through the heel, and then soft, short, little kind of pumps of the leg. As many as you want to do. Maybe some of you are already coming back to a low kneel or back into a child's pose as everyone releases on the next exhale, if you haven't yet. And take a couple of breaths here before we move on. Just sort of check in with where your spine is, where your hips and shoulders are in terms of how much of a challenge that was. And on your next inhale, let's make it a big one as we lift back up to our table. All right, from here, we're going to come into plank. Walk your hands, 2 hand prints forward. Tuck your toes underneath your feet and either keep your knees low or lift your knees off the mat, coming into plank. And take as many breaths as you'd like here. I'm gonna drop my knees and kind of refix my stance here. Wasn't feeling right. And when you're ready to release, the knees come down, the hips come back and down towards the heels, and we can widen the knees, touch the big toes against one another, and then drape the upper body down. You can kind of walk your hands away from your hips and surrender the body to the floor in child's pose. I also always recommend, if child's pose isn't comfortable, puppy dog. Um, the knees are together in puppy dog, or sorry, the knees are hip distance apart in puppy dog, but the hips stay up over the knees. So if the knees have any kind of sensitivity to them, it might not work to sink your hips all the way down and back. So we can come into puppy dog and still get that resting pose, that counter pose, kind of releasing the spine, letting the head and neck relax against the mat for a moment. So we're halfway done. We've done plank, and now we're in child's pose or puppy dog. We're going to head to up dog from our position. And so as you're ready to inhale, another big inhale, and we'll lift up. We're going to come forward with the hands once again and release the hips towards the floor. If this arch hurts too much, you can modify the pose by stopping wherever you feel comfortable with your arms still holding you up, or you could come into Sphinx pose, dropping all the way down to the mat and just keeping the chest from the bottom of the rib cage to the top of the shoulders up off the floor in a less intense arch. So just throwing options out there. As you breathe here, when you're ready to release, you'll come back into either child's pose or puppy dog. And that finishes this 4-part flow where we go from plank to child's or puppy dog, and then from up dog to child's or puppy dog. So as you're ready, let's come back to either our plank or our half plank. Holding this, perhaps working a program where we're trying to get stronger, and so we're aware of how many breaths we can take here, or how to measure when we should come out of a pose based on tissue sensitivity and breathing pattern. Letting yourself find the child's or puppy dog pose to rest in between. using your breath in these two kind of intense poses, plank and upward facing dog. And I just want you to see if you can get through 4 rounds of the 4-part flow. Kind of everyone tailoring the amount of time you spend in each position to how you're feeling today. I'm getting little mini kisses on my neck. Keeping the flow going here, concentrating, letting myself release in all the right places and stay tight and supportive of delicate areas in the spine, using my strength. Hopefully, it's the strength that I'm building as I work on my body week to week. And as you're ready to release from this flow, we'll all meet in either child's pose or puppy dog. And let's let the elbows bend if we haven't yet. Let the body relax just a little more with that adjustment. And from here, let's come into Sphinx by continuing to lift the hips up and then forward, relaxing the chest and the abdomen against the mat, propped up on our elbows, which are slightly forward from our shoulders, or any amount or distance away is fine. I don't really feel like arching my back so much right now, so this is a good choice to just let the spine relax a little more. After all, it is a gentle class, right? All right, let's release into crocodile. We'll fan the elbows out to the side and maybe stack the palms, rest the forehead. On your next inhale, try lifting the right foot up towards the ceiling. Feel the front of your hip bone kind of digging perhaps down into your tissues. And then release that leg. Let's lift the left foot and leg, perhaps lifting the knee off the mat, perhaps not. For those of you that would like to try both legs, take an inhale, press into your hips, and lift your feet up off the mat, maybe your knees. Most likely, it's difficult to lift both knees. And then release. Arms here have now been pretty passive. So on this next try, let's do just the right side of the body by extending the right hand at the same time as we lift our leg. Let the hand hover against the floor out in front, and then release. Come back into your crocodile Elbow bends again, right side. Right foot lowers. Now let's switch to the left on the next inhale. We'll lift half locust over here on this side. Maybe breathing as we stay lifted, maybe releasing right away, doesn't matter. If you'd like to come into full locust, you can inhale to reach both hands out in front and lift the feet and knees up off the mat or not, and then release on the exhale back down into crocodile. Take a breath or two in between. And then as you're ready to lift up and back, come into either child's pose or puppy dog once again. Let the spine release and relax. Let the head, neck, and throat release and relax. Take one more breath. On the next inhale, lift up into table. Walk your hands towards your knees until you can bring the upper part of your body stacked on part of the lower. Step one foot forward and let's come up to standing in whatever way is easiest. From here, find your mountain pose. And pressing the feet into the floor, hip distance apart. Find the stability, the balance, evenness side to side. Find the neutral spine, not too arched, not too rounded, just right. And from here, let's come into tree pose by bending the left knee, pressing more into that right leg and foot with the hip and the upper body. Finding your stability and your balance here, maybe making some adjustments to do that. Then we'll send the right knee out to the side. I'm mirroring you, and we'll keep that right knee oriented out and back. And that's going to keep this part of the thigh very active. You can stay here with the foot some distance away from the standing leg. You can bring that foot in. You can make adjustments all the while as you go. And if you'd like, you can lift the right foot entirely, placing it anywhere along the left leg, but at the knee. Keeping your arms low, down by your side, perhaps. Perhaps bringing them to the waist, the heart. Growing your branches up overhead. Letting the body find its balance as you move, if you are moving. Letting the body find its balance in stillness. Accepting the challenge of balance. And let's release and come back onto that right leg, and we're going to step from side to side. Now, bring the legs back together, hip distance-ish apart, and find your mountain pose once again. Let's bend through that right knee, keeping rather the left leg as our standing leg. And let's toe tap As we lift the knee a little bit off the, a little bit up towards the hip, bringing the foot off the ground, as much as hip height. We could move our arrangement so that we can hold on to a chair, a table, a wall. If you'd like to take this conditioning of that standing left leg, you can take opposite hand, the first two fingers, wrap them around the big toe for hand to big toe. You could also take a strap and wrap it around the foot. Lift it up and hold on to the wall here. Letting your body feel the challenge of strengthening that hip, really pressing the ball and socket joint onto the femur with all the support of the stacked bones underneath. All right, so from hand to big toe, we're going to come to the top of our mat and step the left foot back. I'm sorry, let's step the right foot back. Okay. So we're still working on the same leg. We've got the bent knee on the left side, which is making the front leg work kind of a little bit harder than the back leg. Back leg's more stretching here, right? So back heel's lifted. We're in our high lunge shape here. Okay, and we can use whatever props are next to us to help us stay nice and lifted, balanced. We don't want to fall. Now we'll move to pyramid. We're going to step that right foot up, release the right heel to the floor, straighten both knees, and we're standing with our hips facing the short end of the mat. Let's take our hands back behind our hips, interlace our fingers, and we'll come into umbrella. We can bend, by the way, our elbows any amount to get the fingers to touch, and then we'll release the hands and arms back and down towards that back heel. Meanwhile, we're stretching that back thigh. So, excuse me, the back calf is what I meant to say. And we're pressing into both feet, all four corners. All right, if we want to, from here, we can begin to forward fold. We can press down on that forward foot just as much as it takes to keep the upper body lifted. And we can tell where we can stop or where we should stop based on the strength we feel coming through us with that forward thigh. From here, if you'd like to lift the back hands off of the hips and reach them up towards the ceiling, the pinky side of the hands there, then you'll get a nice stretch in the shoulders. Let the next exhale release the hands, float back down, pressing down through both feet, lift back up. We're going to turn this back into a high lunge. And we're going to lift our arms out and up or forward and up, whatever you feel like doing to express yourself today. From here, with this bent knee still on the left forward leg, let's come into arrow by reaching the chest and the nose forward and down, and then reaching the hands back, making a nice diagonal from the right heel through the crown of the head. And sorry, I might be, I don't know. Right and left is being a challenge for me again today. My apologies. We're going to step forward now on that back leg. So we can kind of press into the front leg to step that back leg forward. And let's lift and lower each knee. Side to side, we need that movement to release the tissues in the legs that we're holding on so much with our work. So perhaps you did tree and hand to big toe with one knee out and up, and then you did the same knee forward that time. If you switched, just switch the opposite way this time, and your body will be even. So we're going to come back to our mountain shape. We'll find strength through pressing into the floor. Then we'll bend opposite knee. We'll come into tree on the opposite side. We're going to draw that knee and foot out, 90-degree movement there. We can stay here very wide in our stance because we're getting a stretch on the inside of the thigh on this side. We can come into another expression of tree if we want, wherever our body leads us. Trying to find extension through all the parts of the body, arms, legs, spine, from the tailbone to the brainstem, through the crown of the head. Releasing from tree, stepping side to side. Perhaps grabbing that strap again for our hand to big toe. It works to hold on while I lift my leg. I haven't done this one for a while. Find the extension you need. And maybe you're toe tapping. You're working up the strength, the flexibility, the balance. Wherever it is that you are, it's exactly where you're supposed to be for now, today. Go ahead and release from your hand to big toe. We'll come into our high lunge now. This is where perhaps your left thigh is forward. And if you did the left thigh forward last time, you can come into high lunge with the right foot forward. So find your base to your high lunge, back heel lifted. Right? Feel the strength and the length of the body, arms, legs, spine, from the tailbone to the brainstem. Keeping your arms low or perhaps lifting them up. Stretching, reaching, lengthening, strengthening. Exhale, release the arms if you've lifted them. Step that back foot up just enough. Straighten that front knee. Find your pyramid. Legs making the two longer sides of, I believe, an isosceles triangle. Taking the hands, the arms, reaching them back behind, interlacing the fingers, finding your umbrella here. Chest opened and lifted. Shoulders back and down. Perhaps making this into a forward fold. Letting the hands drift up towards the ceiling. Or not. Taking a couple of breaths or inhaling and coming up right away. Finding your high lunge once again, lifting that back heel, bending the front knee, and perhaps lifting the arms also one last time here. Finding length through the body, arms and legs, spine, tailbone to brainstem. Exhale to lower the arms right down by your sides. Step that back foot up to reach the front. Um, ah, let's step that foot back again. I forgot to come into arrow. So from this high lunge position, our shoulders are stacked on our hips. We'll lean forward, arms go right along down by our sides, the tips of the fingers pressing and reaching towards that back heel. Then stepping up. We're coming up with your spine and then stepping up, picking the ways to come in and out of poses that help your body move in ways that's safe. All right, new little challenge for you today is to pick a hero. You can come into Warrior 1. You can come into Warrior 2. You can come in to Warrior 3. Or if you call them Hero 1, 2, or 3, find your hero. Look and see which foot is forward, which foot is back. Take a few breaths in your hero pose. And as you're ready to release, release in a safe way that works for your body. That's using ways you usually move in. And then go to your pose. Find your hero on the opposite side. Moving at your own pace. Making your hero look like you want it to look. And not worrying about the rest. Exhaling to release, safely coming out of the pose. And let's come on down to a high kneel. Use my blanket. And we're going to face the long edge of the mat. If being on your knees is not accessible, see if you can sit on your sits bones. We're going to do a lateral stretch, which you can do seated. Let's come into gate from a high kneel by extending that right leg out and down. Just the inside edge of that foot might be on the floor, or perhaps the whole sole of the foot, depending on how much rotation there is in your knee. You should feel just a little bit of a stretch here. And you should feel your hips even, left to right and up and down. Let's let the arm on the same side as the extended leg relax. On the next inhale, let's lift that out, free arm and hand out and up, and we'll exhale, laterally stretching one more time. Let this hand kind of come down towards the head. Keep the elbow high and keep this top shoulder lifted and back, up and back. We don't want to reach forward or down. We're not trying to reach the leg really. We're just trying to open this side of the body. On the next inhale, let's reach through that upper arm and then Turn the exhale as you lower the arm. We'll flatten that hand, press the palm into the floor, and we can stay here. We can lift our extended leg, can lift the free hand. We can come all the way over, drawing our upper tricep or bicep rather toward our ear. Well, both really. Releasing the leg, then releasing the arm and hand. We can bring the knee in and then press up off of that hand, or we can do the opposite, whichever feels better on your spine. Come back to your high kneel, and then let's extend opposite leg out to the side. Placing the foot in the right position so you get just a little bit of a stretch out of your inner left thigh. Relax, same arm on extended leg. We'll inhale, free arm and a hand out and up. Exhale, we'll release over. Gate with sway. Inhale to come back up. And then exhale, releasing the hand even further. Let the palm plant. We can bring the free hand to our hip or waist, or we can lift the leg. We can lift just the arm. All these combinations of things. Whatever it is we feel like doing and stretching. And release, letting that foot float down if you lifted it. Maybe drawing the knee in first before pressing up off of the hand. Let's come to table from our high kneel. And as you set up your foundation, your alignment, and you're ready, come into some cat and cows, arching and rounding the spine. Starting to cool down. Let's bring our spine to neutral, and from table, let's come to a seat. From our seat, let's come down all the way to supine. And we can place the towel under our head, the blanket. And we're going to bend up through both knees. Feet on the floor. Gaze at the ceiling or sky. Let's bring the right knee into the chest. Let's kind of loosen up this hip. Maybe do a couple of hip circles. Sorry, knee circles. Both directions. We're going to come into figure 4 first. So let's bring the heel and foot up over on top of the left knee. And we're going to press the right thigh away from the body. We can keep doing this. We can keep a consistent push with that palm, or we can interlace our hands behind the right thigh and draw the legs in towards the body. I like to use my right elbow against my right thigh, and then use both hands to draw that left leg in a little bit. See if you can find a nice stretch and then stay there, breathing. On the next exhale, release the left thigh, excuse me, straighten that leg and come into tree. So the right knee never unbends. You just straighten that left leg And let's all press through the left heel, lengthening the leg, seemingly, and really. Now we'll come into a twist. Let's lift that right knee up towards the sky. We'll roll kind of that knee up and over, letting the right hip lift without lifting the right shoulder. Stretch your right arm out to the side, palm down, and breathe. On the next inhale, chin comes back up to the ceiling. We'll roll back onto that right side. Bend up through both knees again. This time we draw the left knee into the chest. Quick wind relieving pose here for a breath. And then we'll make 2 circles, one direction with the knee, 2 circles the opposite direction. And then we'll come into our figure 4 shape. Maybe pumping that thigh away with the palm. Maybe keeping that thigh away consistently, or lifting that right foot up off the floor, any amount. Holding on to the back of the right leg or the top. Press through that left heel. Now let go of the back of the thigh if you're holding there. Let that right leg slowly straighten. Keep the left knee bent. Find your supine tree pose. Take a couple of breaths here. We'll come into our twist on the next breath. This time, right hip lifts up off of the mat. Left shoulder stays anchored to the floor. Breathing here. Perhaps looking away from that bent knee. Let's bring our chin to center. We'll draw that left knee up and over, come back onto the hip, and let's take a full body stretch here. Inhaling the arms back and up behind the head. Lengthening the arms, the legs, the spine, from the tailbone to the brainstem. And now relaxing the arms down by the sides. Let's quickly come into student choice. Maybe you want to bring both knees into your chest. Maybe you want to do a yoga walk. Maybe you want to do happy baby. Maybe you want to do shoestring. Take a couple more breaths wherever it is that you are, in whatever shape your body's in. And as you exhale next, slowly begin to find your resting Shavasana pose for today. Corpse, perhaps, or constructive rest. with the goal being to make yourself as comfortable as possible, allowing yourself to release and relax. See if you can slow down your breath, smooth it out. Let's begin a body scan. Let's start with the feet, feeling the toes, tops of the feet, sides of the feet, bottoms of the feet, going to the back of the heel, to the ankle, up the shins and calves, the knees, to the thighs and hamstrings, the hips and pelvis, the spine and the ribs, the shoulders and the clavicle, the arms, upper, lower, elbows and wrists, back of the hand, palm of the hand, fingers, fingertips, thumb tip, the neck and throat, relaxing the jaw, the nose, the eyes, the mouth, the crown of the head, relaxing the whole body against the floor. Take one more breath here. And then as you continue to breathe, rock the head gently from left to right. Let's do this a few times. Maybe slowly kind of stretching different parts of the body, moving, wiggling. Let's make our way over onto one side now. And we'll press up away from the floor, finding a comfortable seated position. Legs in any shape that works for you, sitting up nice and tall. We'll bring our arms by our sides, and on the next inhale, let's take a sun breath. Arms and hands lift out and up. Palms come together at the top. We'll exhale, hands to the heart, closing down the eyes and releasing the chin towards the chest as we bow to the divine within us. The light in me honors the light in each of you. On the next inhale, let's lift the chin, flutter open the eyes, release the hands, and thank you all for joining me for a nice, gentle Vinyasa flow. See you next week. Take care.